In this video, I am going to recap my first Solodark session in my West Marches campaign in my new world of Phantasmagoria. I faced a few challenges and I'm going to talk about those in this video. Also, some channel news. I received a new product, Die in a Dungeon, from the dungeon generator. We'll get into this a little bit, but this is something new that I have. And also some plans I have for the channel for the month of November. With all that said, let's get into this. Welcome to Solitary RPG. I value my viewers' time, so I'm just going to kind of jump right into all of the information I need to cover in this video. First, let's start with my plans for the channel in the month of November. In December of 2024, I started a project and I've been working on it ever since. This is something I've worked on every week, and I have not shared any of the information on the channel. In November, I plan to start releasing videos talking about this project, and this is something that I feel viewers can benefit from. It is not a game that I wrote, it is nothing like that. I am just talking about the process of creation, and that is what the month of November is going to be focused on. It's going to be a 4-video series, and I hope people find some value in the project that I put together and that they can take little nuggets of information from everything that I'm going to be sharing to help them with their solo gaming or just gaming in general. I'm not going to announce any more information about it until November, but it's only a couple weeks away, and once it goes up, I will put together a playlist and all that kind of stuff for it, and hopefully I created something that will be beneficial to everybody. That's out of the way. I'm going to clear my desk and we can jump into the Solodark session that I had. Over the weekend, I sat down for a couple hours and started out my first solo session of Shadowdark in my West Marches campaign. It was a lot of fun. I had a good time just creating. I am actually really enjoying this West Marches style so far. And what I am liking about it is the fact that all I have is a basic framework to get started with, and then I'm going out and I'm exploring and discovering everything. My first session, you could call it session 0 if you wanted to. I'm just calling it a session. I don't get wrapped up in numbers. Was just introducing my character, Malcor, to the world and making decisions based on dice rolls of how things were going to unfold. It was him meeting his companion, so it was kind of like the trope of going to the tavern and everybody meeting, but we didn't go to a tavern. A lot of writing in my first session about my character and starting to put together the world, but I did have some dice rolling with oracles, no combat or anything like that. It's a pretty basic story to start out with. I decided to have Malcor living just outside the city on a farm. He was kicked out of the church, so maybe he feels shame. I didn't put that into my narrative, but maybe he has some negative feelings or he feels shame because he was removed from the church. So he lives on a little farm outside the city, but it's close enough to the city that he can get there quickly and he can go into the city and do what he has to do and go home. And that's what he was doing. He went into the city to pick up some items for the Day of Remembrance. And that is what I called the celebration taking place to remember the fallen god. And he was in the city, heard the dog fight. The dog that was lost the fight was being disposed of, basically. It was still alive, but someone was going to take it into an alleyway and end it. And that's when Malcor jumped in, pushed the guy aside, ended up saving the dog, but he had to pay for the dog. And that's where some of the tension was built during the encounter or the interaction with this individual, because I had to roll on the oracle, and whenever you roll on an oracle, you never know what the results are going to be. So I wrote out all that stuff, and I do a lot of writing when I play my solo games, mainly because I may not get back to them right away, and I want to have something to read through to get me back in the moment, the immersion in my solo game. So really good notes. I don't have issues with journaling. I don't have issues with journaling games. I really like to journal. I journal quite a bit. So I took some quick notes, just using this inexpensive journal for capturing all this information. Then once I get to a certain point, I can pull the key information out and just write a little bit of a story or more detailed information if I want to do so. But this is going to be kind of my lore journal for right now, capturing my information. What I set up was this gentleman took the dog into an alleyway. He was going to basically stomp the dog to put it out of its misery. And Malcor jumped in, started rushing towards the person, telling him to stop. I rolled on an oracle, and I got a 9. And that was a no but result. So he wasn't going to stop. So that's where Malcor just pushed him away to stop him. They had an exchange of words, and then we went into some more questions about Malcor trying to buy the dog. I had to be really cautious with this because Malcor was in the city. There, a lot of people around. I narrated that the market was really busy, and I didn't want him to get into a fight because he would have probably lost, because people probably would have, I'm sure if I rolled on an oracle, if people saw the fight or saw what was going on, they may scream out, something like that. So I was cautious. And also Malcor was a priest. Well, he is a priest class, but he was in the church. So in my mind, trying to play someone that doesn't immediately go to fighting, he went to talking. And I got the no when he offered money. Then he offered a little bit more money. I got the 10 result, which is a twist. I was very fascinated with this first session because on the Solodark Oracle, 10 is a twist. That's, if you roll a 10 on the d20, you get a twist. I actually got that twice during this game, which I thought was fascinating because, rolling a d20, getting a 10 isn't high odds, but I got it twice. That's one of the joys of using dice to kind of dictate what's going to happen, is you have no control over those dice unless you have, maybe some benefit of adding a +1 or a minus or something like that. But I don't have that with Solodark. And I rolled 10 twice. It was just something that happened. So twists are always fun because your story changes. But what ended up happening is Malcor, knowing the culture of the city, how greed is taken over, he offered more money. The twist came back, and the guy said, I will take your 2 gold, but I also want all the stuff that you bought. So basically pushing Malcor around a little bit, but he gave in. Malcor's a priest. He was trying to save an animal, and he gave in, even though he knew he was going to disappoint the people back at the farm because he didn't buy the items for the feast that they were going to have. And he went back with an injured dog. So that was an interesting little concept that took place. Then once he had possession of the dog, then I wanted to see how the healing spell worked. And never played a priest before, so I rolled the healing. I failed the first roll, but one of the rules in Solodark are luck tokens, and I had to use my luck token for the re-roll, so I re-rolled it, and it happened, and I was able to save the dog, basically bump its HP back up, and then I left the city with the dog. One of the questions I asked, though, was did anybody witness Malachor doing this? And I rolled a 20. So I got the extreme yes result on the Oracle. So I did say someone witnessed it, which opened up a thread or a path for additional story arc. I didn't know who witnessed it, but somebody witnessed it. And I think that was an important piece of the events taking place. Next question asked is, did the witness alert anyone? And I got the no but. So there was a no but. So now I need to identify who this witness is and what's going to take place. As Malachor was leaving, I asked, did the witness follow Malachor? I got my second 10. I got that twist. So I was thinking a little bit about how this could turn out. The witness is not following Malachor, but there's a twist. So I came up with this idea that as he was leaving the city, walking on the path, there was a hawk overhead that kind of dived down and stood next to Malachor. It gave him kind of an eerie feeling, a little bit of paranoia, like, what's this hawk doing? Why is it here? And just kind of continued on that way. Then when he got on the pathway going to the front door of the home, the hawk landed right in front of the pathway, and it just gave Malachor a really bad feeling. He just kept moving forward. He took a couple deep breaths, and he's like, this isn't right. Kept moving forward. And that's where the story ended, and I had a lot of fun with it. But now I have these little threads of information to use for other story arcs as I move forward, but I do need to identify who witnessed Malachor doing this and what does this hawk have to do with my story. We'll roll some dice and we'll figure that out in my next session. That's just the quick recap of things that took place. Challenges that came up. So the first challenge that came up was the Solodark Oracle. If you grab your Solodark book and you go to the Oracle, you get the Oracle table, which is really simple. Roll a d20, 1 to 9 is a no, 10 is a twist, 11 to 20 is a yes. However, there's rules here about odd numbers being the no but, yes but, and also your extreme results on a 1 being an extreme no, 20 being an extreme yes. And when I was playing my session, I really got wrapped up in what was going on. And to be honest, I skipped the odd number results and had to go back in and, I wrote them down just so that I could remember that the odd numbers were the no but or yes but and the extreme results. Then I just went ahead and typed up a little chart. So this is just going to make my life easier having a visual oracle on my table. I made a little table tent so that I can just put this on my table. This way, when I roll my dice, I can just look for my number and I have my location of where everything's at. And it's just, I guess we'll say, a gamer's aid. And it's just going to be helpful until I play enough sessions and have these concepts just like cemented in my brain knowing that's how this works. But getting there, I'll use this little player's aid, and this will help me moving forward. It wasn't hard to make. It was just a simple Word doc and put a table in and just made all this stuff happen. Also, luck tokens. If we go back to our Solodark book, there's a section in here about your character creation and luck tokens right here on page 1. If you roll a natural 20, gain a luck token. That's how the rule is written. However, it doesn't say when you roll the natural 20. And if you continue reading, you can only have as many luck tokens as you have PCs in your group. Note, you cannot re-roll out-of-game results with luck such as oracle checks or talent rolls. Rules as written can cause some confusion if they're not explained in detail or left for you to interpret to make your game session the best. Also in the rules, if you're playing solo with one character, you start with 1 luck token. But it says rolling a natural 20. So when I was playing, I rolled on the oracle and I got a natural 20. Does that mean I get a luck token? And it doesn't say anything in here about rolling on the oracle, you don't get a luck token. It just says whenever you roll a natural 20. I'm going to interpret that anytime I roll a natural 20, I get a luck token because I am limited on how many I can have. I can only have as many as I have PCs. Right now, I only have 1 PC, so I only have 1 luck token. I use my luck token. I roll a natural 20 on an oracle. I can regain that luck token. Now, once my canine companion comes into the picture, I'll be able to have 2 luck tokens. But that is how I'm interpreting the rules. This is my game, and maybe other people would not see it the same way. That's okay. That's your game. I am just looking at basically how the rules were written. I think if the author did not feel that rolls on an oracle counted towards a luck token, there would be a note, because down here it's very clear that you can't use the rerolls for out of gameplay stuff, and there was still room to write up here. So that's how I'm interpreting the rules. Those were the challenges that I faced with my first session. Nothing major and nothing that I couldn't just take a second and just reflect on how I wanted my game to go. And that is the joy of playing solo, because I didn't have to argue with anyone but myself. It's my game. I just want to have fun, but I don't feel the luck tokens are game breaking enough, because there is a limitation on how many you can have. It's not an endless pool where you can get 20 of them. You can only have as many luck tokens as you have PCs. I'm only going to have 2, plus I have to roll that 20. And that's not always an easy thing to do. I'm going to real quickly pull out the table that I created, or the charts that I created for my session with the weather. I pulled my card and I got my starting weather condition. So I pulled the 2 of hearts, which is going to put it in March, which is springtime. And that's how I linked the celebration taking place for the fallen king. It's March, it's spring, it's the 2nd week of March, so people have already planted their seeds on the farm. It's that rejuvenation of life after winter. So I took a colored pencil and just put a dot where my session's going to start, made a note down here that this is where we're starting. And I think this is going to be kind of cool, because this is a world calendar. So if I start another game or have something else come up, I can plot that down. And if I end up with the same time frame, I can just make another colored mark, use the colored pencil to write down that information here about how those games are overlapping on the same timeline, but they're in different parts of my world. and just trying to keep everything organized. And on the back of this, I went ahead with my cultural religious events, and I just called it the Day of Remembrance. So this is something that is being celebrated across the world because this was a god, it was a religion that was popular. So any other place that I may, you know, play my games and something, if the timelines cross, they'll be also celebrating that. So I'm just keeping track of everything with this chart that I created, and hopefully this will keep me moving in the right direction and I don't make any mistakes along the way. But mistakes I don't get upset about. They happen when you're playing games. I've been playing miniature games forever, and it's very common after a miniatures game that you made a mistake with the rules and you just go, okay, I learned from my mistake, and we just adjust moving forward. So that's my recap. Pretty quick, pretty simple. Let's talk about this. This is a new product that I received. This is the Dungeon Generator Die in a Dungeon. This is a game put out by Roland Kuntz, and it's now being published by Modifius, which I thought was interesting. I didn't know this creator teamed up with Modifius. It's a dungeon game for 1 to 2 players. It's got an age recommendation 14 up. Takes about 40 minutes. If you're not familiar with Dungeon Generator, I've talked about these cards before, and I used them in my game of Dragonbane. These are just really cool dungeon cards that you can lay out and create a dungeon. They've got a few rooms on them, and they're just really creative and have a lot of color to them, and I like them. Well, the creator made a game, and it is using the cards, but there's a game element to it, and that is what's in here are all the cards for the game element. And this is not a simple, easy game that you can just spend 5 minutes reading the rules and have an understanding about it. There are quite a few rules, and they made this nice little book to go over everything. So this weekend, I will be taking a break from my RPG game and learning how to play this game so that I can put together a video. For me, having a YouTube channel, just focusing on one game over a long period of time isn't good for growing the channel. I'm going to have to mix things up, so my videos will, continue working on my West Marches game, but I'm going to have to also put other videos in there as well, just so that I can keep interest in the channel and help grow the channel. And this is what I want to work on this weekend so that I can put together a video about this, because I really do like the art style that is used in this game. I love the dungeon cards. I think they're great. But I do need to sit down and really read through the rules, get an understanding of it, play it a few times so I can put together a good video and share this product with other people. I backed this on Kickstarter, and it just showed up in the mail a couple days ago, but I've been too busy with life, unfortunately, to sit down and read it. But this weekend I have some free time blocked out so that I can really spend some time on that. So that's everything I have for this video. A little bit of information about the channel and what I'll be doing in November. Recap on my Solodark session and a new product that I will be talking about. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye.